Hi everyone, Brian here, wishing you a wonderful Friday and a great weekend ahead. This Sunday at Church of Our Savior, we're going to be joining in the month-long celebration from September 15th to October 15th of Hispanic Heritage Month. This may seem a little odd for a Church of England parish in the United States to be doing this, but I think it's actually very important, and I'm very excited that we're going to be at least staying aware that this particular month is Hispanic Heritage. Part of the reason for me is that heritage is a very important thing in my life, and I believe in the life of all faithful and religious people. Heritage is the background from which we emerge and have our life in the present, and then we create a heritage that we pass on to others. Anybody who's been a parishioner at Church of Our Savior for any length of time very well knows that we have a very unique heritage here, a place in the neighborhood of Lincoln Park for 150 years, and our church here on Fullerton Parkway since the 1890s. But something really special happened at Church of Our Savior as the neighborhood experienced a modern urban renewal in the second half, in the last few decades actually, of the 20th century. That was a time of all sorts of new creativity, new hope, new aspirations. And all of those were lived out in very ordinary, everyday ways here at Church of Our Savior. Old-timers will remember the Antiques Fair, the fact that we had Gilbert and Sullivan plays, that we were a place that offered refuge for anybody living in the city, whether you were a single person or a family full of kids, trying to live the best life you could in the city. Our commitment to city life is very important. And one big aspect of city life is that we live cheek by jowl with everyone else in the city. We can pretend that because Lincoln Park is affluent, relatively safe, provided with good schools and other sorts of resources for everybody who lives here, that we, in a sense, live in a different place than those who live in impoverished neighborhoods, neighborhoods rife with violence and gang activity, places only a number of blocks away that struggle with life that we seem in this neighborhood to be able to simply celebrate. But we are one city, and we are one people. And the simple religious truth is no one is truly affluent until everyone is. No one is truly free until everyone is. No one is truly happy until everyone is. No one is truly fulfilled until everyone is. Part for me, though, is that I've recognized for a very long time that the United States is not a country that was simply created by our founding fathers, despite the fact that they played an enormously big role and left us with the documents that are the centerpiece of our life today. But we were founded by multiple cultures. The impact of Native American tribal individual communities and nations played an enormous role in both our foundational identity and our modern identity. In many ways, who we are as modern Americans, including our concepts of democracy, come, and our love of the very fabric of our country, the beautiful landscapes that come from here, all come from our Native American heritage. We are also Our foundational cultures include the African Americans who were here at the time of the American Revolution and who were an integral part of who we are, whose music experience and the devastation of what's happened to both them and Native Americans are part of the heritage that we have to embrace both with lamentation for the parts that were dreadful and with joy for the aspects of African American and Native American culture that are so popular and good and joyful for us to engage with. But there was another foundational culture, and that has to do with the early Spanish explorers and the impact of Spanish colonization in what was, of course, the fringe of the 13 colonies, and but has been part of the experience of the Americas from the very beginning of our life as a country. And so it's a unique situation as more and more people become aware that the Hispanic population in the United States, here in Chicago, and right here at Church of Our Savior is a dynamic part of who we are. White people and Northern European people in the United States have always felt that they are the majority, that their cultural heritage, their language, their philosophical way of doing things, approaching life, and their orientation to how an individual or a family relates to the larger society, we have always presumed that these are normative not only for us, but for everyone else. We're blessed, actually, to live at a time when we can all question those values, recognize that every culture has its values and its deficits. Racism, intolerance, abusiveness has been a part of the Anglo-Saxon heritage in the United States, and we have to come to terms with that right alongside our care for individual rights, opportunity and freedom for as many people as we can extend it to in our culture and society, the rule of law, all of the other concepts that came from Northern Europe into our contemporary American world. The same is true of every other culture. All cultures bring really incredibly insightful and beautiful aspects alongside things that may be problematic or need to be sloughed off. It's particularly important, I think, for the modern Hispanic American population. They're coming from countries in Central and South America that over the course of the late 19th and throughout the 20th century experienced the United States not as a great benefactor, but as an intruder in internal politics, in the economy, sometimes quite flagrantly. So it's a very interesting time and place to be able to see the connection between a rising Hispanic reality in our lives and who we are as people. We are always open, our hearts and minds should always be open to the creative newness that comes. So beginning this Sunday, we're going to be dipping our toe little bit by little bit each week in the experience of the Hispanic heritage that's true in the United States, in the Episcopal Church, here in the city of Chicago and the Lincoln Park community. And I look forward to sharing this right alongside all our other traditions. Also this Sunday, we're welcoming Bishop Bill Purcell and his wife Nancy, who, following the consecration of Paula Clark this coming Saturday, tomorrow, will be visiting with us at the 1045 liturgy on Sunday. So a vibrant and happy weekend ahead. Thanks for listening. I look forward to seeing as many of you in church as possible and greeting the rest of you on our online or videotaped service. Thanks and God bless.